It's kind of funny. I forgot to turn the soundboard on. So that was some behind the scenes shit right there. But it's all good. I'm going to do this video anyway. This one's not going to be hopefully that long because um, if you watched a few of the recent videos, you notice I'm wearing the same shirt because it's the same motherfucking night. Um, and I need to go to bed soon. So, a friend of mine had asked me a question about, I think it was, give me a second here. It's basically about civil discourse and, let's see, I'll read his exact question. He asked me if I could do a video addressing why there's such difficulty in having civil discourse nowadays. Maybe even speaking on the importance of it. So I'm going to do it now. All right, so who asked the question? You know who you are. Thank you for asking the question, and I really appreciate it. And this actually is a really relevant question to me, especially recently, because I lost somebody who was sort of a friend on something that was basically a civil discourse. And I usually don't. I've only unfriended people maybe twice. Maybe twice. I'm usually pretty civil about stuff, you know? And the fact that civil discourse is becoming more and more difficult is because we have a society now that is being more and more skewed towards the us versus them. And I think that too many people are buying into it. And for me, it's easy for me not to buy into it because it's hilarious to me because, especially this person in particular that recently unfriended me, is because they tried to put me in certain boxes that I don't belong in. Like, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. This person thought I was trying to be some sort of intellectual. I'm not that. I'm 40 years old. Never once in my 40 years of life have I ever considered myself an intellectual. I'm probably smarter than most people. That's being sort of generous, you know. I have a higher than average intelligence, but that's not saying much. That's about it, okay, to be honest with you. And I never, ever put it out there that I'm like some better than you sort of person. That's not me. I'm not better than anybody. Everybody's got problems. I recognize that. And yeah, I don't understand why somebody would try to put people in boxes. Like I try to put my friends in boxes. You know, like they go through their own unique experiences, and I try to understand their experiences. That's what friends do, right? I mean, I hope. You know, there's people I don't agree with. You know, with certain views. I mean, shit. I do a podcast with people that I don't share all their views, and what's funny is that that's actually why people like the podcast, is because sometimes we get into some shit. And then people are like, "Oh, this is awesome." They get their popcorn. And they're just like, "Who's gonna say what next?" And but at the same time, everybody on the podcast, we all get along. I mean, we don't like when we have arguments on the podcast. It stops at the podcast. You know, like we get it out and then it's done. Like, we're still good. Nobody's getting fired. You know. So even though people maybe thought that, you know, Old Ninja got fired like, you know, a week or so ago, but he was actually off for legit reasons. He had something else to do than the podcast. He's probably getting paid money. You know, this podcast doesn't make a lot of money, so especially not enough to support five people. So I wish it did. I would love to, you know, to do this for a living. That'd be great if you guys share this more and get us more views, and maybe we can all stop working and you can see more of us and more awesome stuff. But you know, for now, it's fun. I don't expect to make a lot of money from this. It's just for me, it's fun to do, and I love having interactions with people like the person that asked me this question about civil discourse. But yeah, it's the ongoing us versus them thing, and I think some of this goes to racism in America. Like, honestly, to be perfectly honest, like, I think that a lot of people don't realize that racism has pervaded so much in America, you know, that it's still going on to this day, and people will say things that are just like crazy statements, you know, like like somebody tried to evoke emotions from me, like they were asking me like, why do I hate the president? Like I don't hate the president. Like what are you talking about? Or like, why am I so mad in this conversation? It's like, I'm not mad in this conversation. It's like you're trying to gaslight me into thinking that I'm feeling these emotions that I don't feel. Like I don't know what you're trying to do, but it's not working on me. It's like you can try it on somebody else. I go to sleep good at night. Except for, I mean, recent events have me worried, but normally I am good to go. You know, but in the past like 6 days, yeah, I've been stressed. But these are obviously external factors, and these are like pretty extraordinary times. But normally, I don't think about Facebook or Twitter conversations when I go to sleep. Like I'm good. I got a family to provide to provide for, and I got other things to do. Like you don't have an apartment in my brain. Like if you think you do, you definitely don't. So yeah, just I think that the civil discourse thing is just like things have been ratcheted up so far here in America, and people have ignored these warning signs about things, and they don't realize that what they're doing and the teams that they're on, like people have chosen these teams, and they are so into staying on these teams that they're not willing to even consider a different opinion. And if you happen to challenge their opinion, that they, generally speaking, I'm not saying everybody, all right, generally speaking, they do not have a way to process that positively. Like for me, I am fine with being wrong. Like I got no problem. I'm wrong all the time. Like the most recent very wrong thing that I was about was COVID-19. When it first happened, I was like nobody's dying here, so like what's the big deal? But then when people started dying, it's like, yo, all right, this is a big deal. And went back on that pretty quickly. But there are people to this day are still just like, oh, the mortality rate is so low. But it's like, yeah, the mortality rate is so low if you're healthy. But what if you live with somebody that is at risk? Or what if you interact with somebody that's at risk? What if your parents are at risk? People aren't asking those kind of questions. They're just like, well, the mortality rate's low. But it's low for 335 million, or yeah, I think it's 335 million Americans. But like if you're 65 and above, or have certain health conditions, then your mortality rate is significantly higher. That's what I'm worried about. I live with somebody. She's obviously not over 65, but she has a health condition. And you saying that the mortality rate is so low doesn't apply to her. It's high for her. So when somebody keeps trying to tell me that the mortality rate is low, just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's low for you and me. Yeah, I get that, but not for everybody. And that's the main gist of dealing with this pandemic. And that's just like one example. I noticed that this pandemic, it really did like an us versus them thing for like right versus left, and it's like, what? Like this is a virus. Like why is there a political leaning for this pandemic? Like it's so strange to me. I don't understand why it is, and then people have all these crazy ass conspiracy theories that I don't understand. Like if somebody can rationally break it down for me, I please do. I mean, I always reserve the right to change my opinion. But y'all have not, that are on that side of like this whole political thing with the coronavirus. Like y'all need to do some better explaining to me with that. To be honest with you, because thus far it's been sorely lacking. A human life isn't worth a maybe. Maybe to you it is. I mean, but to me it's not. Lives to me are very precious. But I think that people forget that because they're just like, oh, I want to get a haircut. But what if you get a haircut and then you go home and you see your mom and then she dies? Was the haircut worth it? I don't know. At this point, I honestly don't know because I hope that this isn't as deadly as that it is for certain groups. But for right now, for all the data that I've seen, it's dangerous for at least 3 people that I regularly interact with, and their safety is not worth any kind of bullshit you're trying to peddle me. It's not until new data comes out. It's just like, oh, they're good to go. If the new data comes out and they say that they're good to go, I'll be out in public again, living life, living the best life. But until then, it ain't worth it, man. It's not. And I hope that other folks will adopt a similar stance. But I mean, they're not, and that's it's fine. But just if you don't adopt the same mentality, stay the fuck away from me. Actually, you don't have to stay the fuck away from me. I'm staying the fuck away from you. It's on me. I'm staying away from pretty much everybody. And I'm trying the best I can to keep my family together and alive and safe. So, yeah, I hope that answers the civil discourse question. To me, it's an us versus them mentality, and people have been suckered into thinking that way. Instead of thinking us versus them, think about we're all humans, and we have way more in common than we do have differences, and we should all be thinking about, how can we make humanity better, rather than tearing it down with little bullshit complaints. That should be the mentality in my eyes, anyway. You might disagree, but you're entitled to your opinion. So just like as I'm entitled to mine. Yeah, we need to make humanity better, and that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to keep as many people as alive as possible for as long as possible, and that applies to everyone, whether you're rich, poor, or in between. And I think that people, they forget that. They get caught up in this us versus them nonsense in these teams, and we're all humans, man and woman. Just treat each other with dignity. I'm gonna keep saying it. I hate to. Holy crap! I just had an epiphany. These people that speak in public and do all these things, they have all these silly catchphrases, and now I understand why they do it. I just got it, just now, on this mini rant, is why they do it. It's because there's like a thing that you wanna get across to them like all the time, and so if mine is gonna be, have some human decency, I mean that's not a bad one, right? I hope not. If it's bad, let me know. I guess you don't want human decency. I'm just kidding. but if it gets annoying, like seriously, if I start saying it too much and it's annoying, then let me know and I'll consider doing something different. Not that you control me, but I understand that hearing somebody say the same thing over and over again can be kind of annoying. So anyway, with that, yeah, I'm out this bitch. Peace. Hope I answered your question.